Okay, it's all yours.
Good evening, and welcome to what I personally believe is the best high school in Nashville, McGavin. I'm Marisol Gibson, the Student Body President for the Academy of Hospitality and Finance. I would now like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Mr. Louis Levine. Louis Levine has been president of the Center for Nonprofit Management since 2005. In that decade, CNN has expanded to serve more than 800 nonprofits. His career has included several government posts, including Chief of Staff to Governor Lamar Alexander. He is currently on the boards of the Nashville Metropolitan Transit Authority, Meharry Medical College, and Nashville Public Education Foundation. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Levine.
Thank you. Okay, can you hear this? Dr. Huff, you want to say hello and let's see if we can hear you, and then we'll start.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, great.
You're doing better than I am. Okay. Thank you all for coming. We never know when we set up one of these forums whether there's going to be a good crowd or I've been with some forums at the MTA where we had 4 people in the audience, so I understand the other side of that. So thank you all for coming. And you can't hear. I was a little concerned about that. Let's see here. Is that better? So I can talk like this, okay? All right. Okay. I'll try to keep it loud. And if you can't hear the panelists, please let us know that as well. Sounds like you're not shy about doing that. This is the first of 3 consecutive evening sessions that the school board has set up for you to have a chance to visit with prospective candidates for, I think, as tough a position as there is in Nashville. So I want to thank the team at McGavick and thank the school board members for making this possible. Could I ask the members of the board to stand? I think everybody is here. Thank you. Now, I want to thank Dr. Angela Huff for being here. We always remember that when we do these candidate searches, that this is a two-way street. So we're recruiting you to Nashville while we're checking you out. So
yes.
We're very glad that you're here. I know it was home for you at one point, and so we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And by way of formal introduction, Dr. Huff is the Chief of Staff for the school system in Cobb County, Georgia, and I'll leave it at that. You may want to amplify that as well.
Okay.
So again, thank you for being here. Now it's working. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to ask a couple of just startup questions, and then we have a very distinguished panel that will ask a question each. And then we have received some questions on the website, and there are white cards that you have, and you can hand those up, and we will use some of those, time permitting, to ask questions as well. You also have what, manila colored, some other colored cards that are comment cards. And those are also really important. The school board is going to be making a decision perhaps at the end of the week. And so please fill out your comments at the end of the night and leave them at the table or hand them over to the folks in the back. I think that's kind of our instructions. So let me introduce the panel and then we'll ask a couple of questions. First, representing Stand for Children is Daniel O'Donnell. Daniel, thank you. Representing the MNEA is Stephen Henry, at the end. And you can applaud, I guess. Representing the SEIU, which is the Service Employees International, is Frida Player. Representing the faith-based community, actually with for your interest, the Nashville Organized for Action and Hope, and that's Reverend Edward Thompson. Representing the business community tonight with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee is Patricia Stokes. Our student you met, Marisol Guzman. And then a parent, Stephanie Spear, representing the Parent Advisory Council. And finally, Shannon Hunt, who is the CEO of the Nashville Public Education Foundation. Oh, okay. The important part hadn't started, so it's okay. All right. Thank you all for being part of the panel, and we'll turn to you in just a sec. So for the first question, why Nashville? Other than the fact that you went to Pearl, what interests you in this position?
Well, with me being from Nashville, I thought it would be a great opportunity to come back home. I left here 31 years ago, and Nashville School District really prepared me for life in my adulthood. And so once the position was posted, I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to be able to come back to a place that gave so much to me to help me get prepared for my jobs that I've had, and I thought it would be an honor to just come back and work with the students and the staff with the Metropolitan Nashville Public School District, because I felt like there would be something that I could offer to help the school district. And so that was my reasoning for applying in the first place, because of it being Nashville and being able to come and give back to a system that gave so much to me.
Thank you. Okay. Second question, and I'll turn to the panel. As you heard, I was the chief of staff once. That's a very different job from being in charge.
Yes.
So how do you make that leap?
Well, I've been really fortunate in my position as chief of staff, because with the superintendents that I've been able to work with, they've allowed me to pretty much help and do superintendent type work. And so many of my experiences have been with either participating in activities on behalf of the superintendents that I've worked for, so that I can have that experience, or speaking on behalf of the superintendent, or making those decisions that you have to make for large school districts as it relates to finances, as it relates to academics, as it relates to operations. And so I've been able to have vast experiences as the chief of staff, because for our district, the chief of staff is pretty much the second person in command for the school district. And so I feel as though with the opportunities that I've had in this role, it has really prepared me for a position like director of schools for a school district.
Thank you. All right, first question out from the panel, Marisol Guzman. I'll let the student matters the most, right?
Yes, the student does matter the most.
With all the changes in MMPS, what do you see for the future of the academy pathways?
The academy pathways, the future for the academy pathways. Number one, I've been so very excited with the information that I've been able to grasp as it relates to the academies. There's so many great things that are going on in this school district with the academies. Having the choice and being able to have items and programs for students to engage in has been very, very attractive for me. And so I like what is going on with the academies. And I see myself, if chosen as a director for the school district, I see myself continuing in that same vein with the academies, and also making sure that with the academies that we're also highlighting the other schools as well, to make sure that we are allowing parents to see the whole picture of everything that is going on with all the different offerings that we have. But I really am very impressed with the academies. Our chamber in Cobb County came here to see your academies and how they operated, so that we could look in Cobb County and maybe mimic some of the things that you're already doing here with your academies. But they are very impressive, and I really think that the students in the school district are able to truly have a choice and decide which path they want to take. For our students, it's not just college or career, but it's college and career, because we have to prepare our students for either path they decide to go down. And I believe that your academies are just phenomenal with what you're offering to the students.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Huff. What experience do you have in turning around low-performing schools, and what specific strategies would you employ to improve Nashville's lowest-performing schools?
The experience that I've had in low-performing schools is basically looking at the data and seeing how our school students are performing, and specifically looking at that data and indicating within that data what areas there may be some dysfunction, and making sure that we're providing those supports and resources for students to make sure that they're successful. One of the things that I would do initially if I were hired in this position is I would take a look at those 14 priority schools that we have in the school district and look at their test scores and make sure I study those and then talk with those local leaders in those buildings to ensure that we are providing what we need to provide for students so that we can make sure that we get all of our priority schools off of that list, because we need to really focus on what the individual student needs. I would also meet with those local leaders and truly make sure that they have a plan in place for those students to make sure that we are providing all of the supports for those students and making sure that those students are able to excel. A lot of times what we tend to do is want to slow students down and remediate, and we don't need to do that. We need to accelerate the strategies that we're using with students to make sure that we can bring them to the level that they need to be working on and then take them beyond that. So the first thing I would do is study that data and talk with those leaders, and also make sure that I'm a part of helping with ensuring that those students are getting the strategies and the resources that they need to be able to excel so that we can get off of the priority list.
I think we can't see you well. I wonder if we can move this.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Can you all put it behind us?
You won't know hearing. It only gets.
But we can't.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's just really bad.
Yeah. Well,
Any ideas, guys?
there you go. That's better.
Sorry about this. Thank you.
No, that's not going to get us.
That didn't work.
How about right there?
Or we could put them on you.
No, I think you're
Put
done.
one on you. Could we put a mic on you?
That's totally up to you.
No, no, we're not going to do two mics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think I answered your question.
This is a test on whether you can keep your train of thought.
Yes, but
I'm going to try to keep going while he fills
Okay.
with that. Okay. You want to continue?
But to summarize with the question that you asked, I would look at the data and try to make sure I'm understanding what I'm seeing and make sure that there are supports in place to be able to allow those students to succeed. Okay, so that's just summarizing.
Dr. Huff, first of all, thank you for seeking out this opportunity to join us in our important work here. How will you ensure that there is an outstanding teacher in every classroom? And not just ensure that, but to support that teacher, and that teacher has both the time to plan and teach, so to ensure student success?
Well, one of the most important things we do as leaders is hire. You have to hire the right person. And sometimes that might take a long time to do, but you have to hire the right person. Having the right teacher in that classroom is one of the best decisions that we can make as leaders, because if we don't have the best teacher in that classroom, then our students suffer for that. So we want to make sure we have the right person. And once we get the right person in that classroom, we have to make sure that we can retain that person. And so we have to make sure that we're allowing them to participate in professional learning, depending upon what grade level, what division, what department they're working in, making sure we provide the professional learning to help them to succeed within that classroom or that space, wherever they're working. And that professional learning doesn't always have to take place after school, because many times teachers are tired after school, and so we need to look at other times during the day that we can provide that training for our staff for the professional learning. One of the beliefs that I have is that one of the most important things that we do is support our teachers and make sure that we are giving them all the resources that they need to be successful, and also supporting the leaders that also support the teachers in their buildings. So number one, to answer your question, is the hiring decision is the most important decision that we make. We want to make sure that we have the best and brightest in front of our students. And then we have to retain those teachers by providing the professional learning that they need to be successful in whatever setting they're teaching in.
Good evening. I represent SEIU. We represent the support employees in Metro Public Schools. And our question is, what is the role of employee input in staff procedures, policies, and handbook?
What is the role
of employees' input into the staff handbook, staff policies, and staff procedures?
Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to listen to our staffs. If there are questions that they have, or if there are items that they want us to include within the staff handbook, if there are things that we're not doing, we need to make sure that we're listening to our staff to include those things. And so I believe that what I would want to do is have some kind of, I don't know, forum or something where we can sit down and listen to our support staff and make sure that we're providing the needs that they have. If I were chosen as the director of schools in Nashville, I would begin with an entry plan, and I would have a series of questions that I would ask different stakeholders within the district to be able to determine what needs to be changed, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to just remain the same. So I believe that when I get the feedback from those questions, then I'll be able to better determine what needs to occur. And then I would share that information with the board members so that they're aware of what information I found. But I think that with our support staff and with any staff that's in the district, just listening initially to see what's going on and be able to hear the different stories, and then to be able to act upon what I'm hearing.
Thank you.
Thank
Reverend
you.
Thompson.
We want to thank you for your success and that you are a part of this great system.
Yes.
And thank you for considering us.
Thank you.
My question representing Noah is, what experience do you have, and what would you do to address racial disparities in suspensions, expulsions, and court referrals to juvenile court, including the district-wide policy and training curriculum?
One of the departments that I directly supervise is our Policy, Planning, and Student Support Office. And within that department, I'm in charge of writing the policies for the district and ensuring that our policies are fair. Another part of that department are the student discipline hearings. So I help to organize those hearings and to make sure that we are delivering the kinds of consequences that are adequate for all students. This year we decided in the district that I'm currently working in was that we were going to train our administrators and remind them of what the code of conduct is, what a fight is, what a punch is, what we would consider to be something that would be an offense that's suspendable. Because sometimes when we do suspend students, sometimes the higher percentage are our minority students that are getting the consequences of suspension. And so we found in our district that we needed to do some reteaching and redirecting so that we could make sure that everyone understood the code of conduct and how to work within that code of conduct. And it was amazing with doing some training with our staff at the beginning of the school year. It was amazing that this year our referrals actually went down. Our percentages dropped with different student groups, and I think it was all a part of us being able to reteach and redirect staff. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, students shouldn't get consequences for different behaviors that they have, but we need to make sure that we're charging students correctly and making sure that everybody understands what to do. And then once students do get a consequence, making sure that we're coding them correctly in the system. So.
With there being 120 languages spoken by students and their families in Metro schools,
how do you plan to address both the language and cultural barriers that are keeping many families from being actively involved in their child's education?
First of all, we need to make sure that we are welcoming our families into our buildings. A lot of times our parents don't want to come into our buildings because they feel as though they're not on the same level that the staff is on, and that they just don't feel comfortable. And so we have to have a welcoming environment so that they do feel comfortable, and ensure that they know that they are welcome. So that would be the first thing, is making sure that they know that they're welcome and treating them as such. It's one thing to know, but it's a second thing to actually show people how you feel about them. And so we need to make sure that we take care of that first. Secondly, with the languages, we need to make sure that our teachers are well prepared with being able to work with all students, and being comfortable with working with language acquisition skills and making sure that we're providing our students with what they need to be successful with the language and speaking the language. And so I think professional learning ties in with that for our teachers. In the district where I'm currently in now, we have a program where our teachers are certified in a 150-hour training program to work with students that do not speak English as their first language. And once teachers get out of that program, then they're very well qualified, certified to be able to work with those students and to be able to teach those students on their levels, as well as work with the parents of those students, so that those parents can also help at home with the language and with the education that we need. So I think that first, making them feel welcome. Secondly, making sure our teachers are trained and they feel comfortable in working with our students. And then I think once we do those things, then we'll see things change with the students. But we have to make sure that we put those things in place so that our students can be successful. It can be done, but you just have to put certain things in place for that to occur. Thank you.
Dr. Huff,
Yes.
welcome
Thank
home
you.
to Nashville.
Thank you.
I certainly appreciate this opportunity and appreciate you for being here to dialogue with us. This is probably an expansion on that same question. How are you qualified to work in a school district with a high level of ethnic, religious, and economic diversity? And how does that inform decisions you will make if you were to become director?
I think the way that I'm qualified is that the district where I've worked for the last 23 years has a lot of diversity in it. And I've been able to work within that diversity, work with all different types of people, and be able to get things done with different groups of people. During my principalship, I served for 13 years as a principal, and one of the schools I served in was a very diverse school. It was the highest transient school in the district. And so along with that came many opportunities for me to be able to work within that community to make sure that those families were welcomed in our schools, and to make sure that we provided resources for those families to come into our schools to be able to help with our students. So I think on that level, I was very successful with that. In the chief of staff role, I had the opportunity to meet with different parent groups as often as they want to meet. And they get to come and share their concerns in regards to how things are handled. And so after having those meetings with them, then the superintendent and I make a plan for the district. And so some of the complaints were need to communicate more, need to be more transparent, needed to provide avenues in which our students felt comfortable in some of our schools. And so we looked at different strategies in helping with that. We utilized a lot of our parent liaisons to help with that. We had a parent group that wanted us to provide daycare within our schools so that parents could come to evening meetings, provide the child care. So I think, those experiences and being able to talk with different groups, I think that's been able to help me make decisions based upon what our district needed to do in making sure that we're meeting all the needs of our students. And so I think it's, again, going back to listening and making the appropriate decision based upon what you're hearing from your stakeholders. I don't like making decisions in isolation. I like to be collaborative with my decision making, because I don't know all the stories, but I know someone will tell me the stories. And so I think that helps when you're making decisions for an entire district, when you know the whole story. So, thank you.
So obviously, you want to be successful with the you're selected. How do you define success at 1 year? I'm trying. How do you define success at 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years? What specifically will be different about our schools that we've chosen?
I think success is defined with what you're able to achieve. I think you have to set goals. And for me, I think what I would do first year, third year, and so on, I would look at the entire district and see what's most pressing at that moment, and set my goals on what's most pressing. There are many things that you could set your goals on, and I think that that's what I would look at first. I know that I would look at the priority schools as one of my goals. I know that I would do that. But I also know that I have other students that are represented in the district that are not in the priority schools, and that needs to be a goal as well. I found in my experience that anytime I make decisions based on what's best for students, I've made the best decision. I've never failed when I've made decisions based on what's best for students. So I need to make sure that I balance my goals on all students and not just one type of student. So that would probably be what I would do initially. And then I think as I learn more about the district, then I can make other priorities and other goals at that time. But I think that's kind of how you define success. If you're able to meet your goal, if you're able to show growth in that goal, I think that's when you can have success. And then also working along with the board, because we will, if I'm hired for this position, we'll be a team. We'll work together and get the job done, because we can't achieve the success if we're not all working together. And I think that, if I'm chosen for this position, the more that we can do together as one big family, the more success that we'll see as a school district. Okay.
Okay, so our panelists each had a question. Janelle or whoever's going to, I've seen a lot of questions coming up, and while we're doing that, I'll give you 1 second to catch your breath, and then I'm going to ask you.
I'm going to take a sip of water. Can I do that?
You can certainly do
Okay, all right.
Here,
Are you opening that for me?
I will.
Oh, that's nice.
We're in the South, right?
Yes, we're in the South. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so while I'm looking at these, I'll ask you a generic question.
Okay.
A little different from the others. What was a crisis that you? Okay. What was a crisis that you faced along the way as an administrator, and how did you handle that?
One of our most recent crises that we experienced was, and this was I think a year ago, we had a snowmageddon in Marietta.
We heard about that.
Yes, we were talked about even on the Today Show. So it was fun, it was exciting, it was our unexpected gift for the day. That's what I tell people. One of the process with that, of course, you don't know when snow is coming, and you all know all about that here in Nashville. You don't know when snow is coming, and we sent our drivers out to scope the area and see if we were going to be fine going to school, and we called GEMA to see if we were going to be fine. That's our Georgia Emergency Association. And they said, oh yeah, go ahead and go, everything is good. So, we're thinking if we go with GEMA, we're good. Well, we got everybody in school, and then by about 9:30 or 10, Snowmageddon began to happen. And so going through the process of getting everybody home on buses and making sure everybody was safe, and then trying to make a Plan B decision if we had to feed students at school, trying to go through all of that. So it was really an experience, but it all worked out, and it taught us a lot in the district. And so we'll be better for it. You're always better for it, you know. And so I think that was one of a crisis that I can remember most recently.
Thank you.
So, yes.
All right, first question from the set here. What are your thoughts regarding the relevancy of fine arts, including music, theater, and art in education?
Well, it doesn't need to go away. We need to keep the arts in our schools because our students can only do so much reading, so much math, so much science, so much social studies. There needs to, we need to make sure that we're servicing the whole child and making sure that we're providing all the things that will help make our students successful, because once they leave our door, we need to make sure that we prepare them well, and so that does not need to go away.
Okay. In this district, our students, I'm reading this now, our students are not attaining ACT scores that get them into college. What strategies would you put in place so that our students are prepared for any college?
I know that one of the things that we can do is we can provide a prep program. These are things that I've done in the past. Provide a prep program for ACT and for SAT to help our students be successful, and also to begin that practice or that study before they get to the point when they have to pass the test or take the test, to begin those dialogues early with our students in middle school. So that students are well prepared and know what to expect coming forward or going forward, make sure they know what to expect. So I think the earlier we begin with communicating with our students about the importance of ACT and SAT, I think the better. And so I think bringing our parents in on that as well, but not waiting until high school to have those conversations, but to have those conversations earlier in the student's career so that they can be well prepared, and then possibly providing some kind of prep program for our students.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me do one more and then I'll go back to the panel. What is your plan to ensure that the diversity of the staff is reflective of the diversity of the student body?
That's a very good question. I think that as a part of hiring and retaining of staff, retention of staff, I think that it all boils down to where we're going to recruit our teachers. We need to not only look within our back door of the Nashville School District, but we also need to go out to do our hiring for our teachers and our staff. And I think it's very key for our local leaders within schools to take a look at who they're servicing in their buildings and make sure that the staff that they bring into the schools are more representative of what the student body looks like, and even for the district office as a whole, making sure that we are representative of the students and the families that we serve. So I think it's just a matter of just taking an examination of who we have and making sure that when we hire people that we are aware of who we have represented in our buildings and in our schools.
Okay, thank you. Marisol?
As a student, I want to know how you plan on interacting with students throughout the year.
I would like to, and I know this may seem impossible some days, but I would like to be very visible in the schools. I think that there is so much that you can learn when you are actually in the building. There's something called management by walking around, and a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems you can solve by just walking around. And so my goal, and I know it's probably a lofty goal, but my goal is to try to be in schools, if I can, at least once a week, if I can. That's my goal. and because I want to have conversations with those local leaders. I even want to meet with teachers. I would love to have a teacher advisory group so that I can get input from teachers, and I think teachers would know that, you know, everything that they tell me, I can't do everything. I think they would understand that, but I think sometimes it just takes listening to people. So I would love to have a teacher advisory group, but to answer your initial question, my goal would be to be in the schools at least once a week, if possible, okay? And work with the students and see the students and be able to see exactly what they're doing and be excited about their learning and letting them know that I'm excited about their learning. That was one of the best things that I was able to do in all the years that I've worked. This is year 31, and being able to let students see how pleased I was with their work was very rewarding, because students want to please. They want to do a great job, and they need to know that you care about them doing a great job. So.
So I'm hearing a lot of amen, so I'm going to ask the Reverend to go next.
Our next question from Noah is, how will you ensure that the district retain high-performing teachers?
Well, we have to take care of them. We have to make them want to remain in our school district. And a lot of times, teachers get burned out because they don't feel like they're getting the training that they need to get. And so I would want to make sure that we have a vast list of offerings for our students, for our teachers, for professional learning, so that we can take care of them. Also, we don't want to beat them up and beat them up and beat them up. Our teachers are in front of each day, our most prized gift, and that's our students. And so we need to make sure that we're building our teachers up and making sure that they get all that they need to have so that they can work with our most prized gift, and that's our students. And so I think that we have to support our teachers, and we have to give them the things that we know that we can give them, and make sure that we can keep them with us. Once we do a lot of work in recruiting teachers, but we have to do as much work in retaining them. So I think it's just really important that we concentrate on both the recruiting and the retention. And that's a part of the strategic plan that the school district has, is making sure that we have quality teachers in front of our students. That's one of the 3 focuses in the strategic plan for the Metropolitan School District. And so we need to make sure that we are retaining those teachers and recruiting them, but making sure we're giving them the professional learning and all the things that they need to feel successful, and supporting them.
Thank you.
Dan?
What do you see as the 3 most urgent needs in Nashville's public schools, and how would you go about addressing them?
I think the first need is we need to be in charge of our story. There's so many positive things that are happening in this school district, and sometimes that gets overshadowed with the negative. And we need to change, we need to do a paradigm shift. We just need to be in charge of being transparent about our district and sharing all the good things that are going on. So that would be the first thing that I'd want to do. I'd want to make sure our message gets out there. We have to be in charge of our own message and not let someone else tell our message or tell our story. We have to tell our story. So that would be the first thing that I would want to do. The second thing that I would want to do is build relationships with all the key stakeholders, internal and external. Because I believe that the way that you can make progress is having strong relationships. I'm a relational leader, and I believe that having those strong relationships helps you to get things done. So I would want to know who in the district I need to get to know to be able to get things done for the school district. So I think building strong relationships would be key. The next thing that I'd want to do is, and along with those relationships, are making sure we have the partners in place and all of that to help our school district. The third thing that I think would be very important is making sure that the teachers, the local leaders, being the principals, have access to me. Because I think it's very important. I think it's very important that they know that I'm in it with them. I've been a classroom teacher. I know what that feels like and what that looks like. I've been a local principal. I know what that feels like, what that looks like. And I've been a central office employee. I know what that feels like and I know what that looks like. So I know the support that is needed. And so I want those persons to know, teachers and local administrators, that I'm available. And I'm there to help them, and I'm there to support them so that we can do this job together.
With more than 12,000 students are active English learners, and more than 33% of our students speak a language other than English. What approaches, best practices, and innovation will you bring to MNPS to improve the outcomes for ELL students?
I think, first of all, I need to look at how those students are scoring on the different assessments that we're giving them. And I need to also look at what kind of strategies are being used with them. We need to make sure that we are not slowing things down for them. We need to make sure that we're accelerating our instruction with them and our strategies with them. And so I want to see exactly what's being done. And I want to make sure that teachers have all of the training that they need in making sure that we have the acquisition skills covered so that those students can be successful. So I think looking at the acquisition skills and also looking at the training for teachers and also looking at the strategies that we utilize with the students, I think would be some of the first key things that I would do.
When Mary Poppins arrived on the job, she brought with her a big bag.
When who? Oh, Mary. Oh,
a big bag filled with things to help her in her work.
Yes.
Nashville is very fortunate to have a very involved business community, parent groups. And when we met earlier, we listed several qualifications that we want in our next director of schools. So in fact, you may be, what we would ask for is probably bringing 3 or 4 bags filled with skills. You touched on the relationship part with working with those groups, but going beyond the relationship and even with the employees, how do you share your vision for the district and inspire your employees, inspire a city, inspire city leaders to be connected to that vision and to move with you?
That begins with the leader. You're absolutely correct. And I think that that will begin with me, if chosen for this position, telling the story of the district, talking about the strategic plan with the external stakeholders, be it the Chamber of Commerce, be it the business community, whomever those communities are, making sure I'm having those conversations, not annually, but on a consistent basis, telling that message. Because for us to be able to meet the goals within the strategic plan, it's the end date is 2018 to meet the goals in that strategic plan. To be able to meet the goals within that plan, I have to put that message out consistently with all of our stakeholders. And so I think that would be one of the first things that I would do. Also, with the local leaders within the buildings at the beginning of the school year, I'd want to have a meeting with all of the leaders and really talk about the vision and talk about the plan so that everybody can be on board, and then have several meetings throughout the year with those local leaders so that everyone knows what the expectations are. But I think that the more you can communicate what the strategic plan is, what the expectations are, what priorities you have, I think the more you can communicate that, the more everyone can be on the same page and they understand it, and then they can come along and assist with the plan. When we don't communicate our message, then no one knows what to do. And so I think you have to communicate that often and make sure that everyone understands and bring those persons on board that need to be on board to assist you with being able to complete your plan with success. I would not want to wait as the director of schools to communicate the plan in 2017 when we want to meet the goal in 2018. So I believe that the time would be now to begin that. And so if I were chosen for this position, I would begin with a meeting with all the stakeholders, internal stakeholders, initially, and then go out and meet with the external stakeholders on a frequent basis.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we talked about smaller learning communities in the academy, so I will choose another question. Can you talk about your plan and approach to the relationship with members of the school board and with our newly elected mayor?
I think that the only way that we can get anything accomplished in Nashville is that we have to work as a team. My relationship with the school board will be that. That would be my expectation. That it's a school board of 9 and I'm 1, and so it's going to be a team of 10. And we work together. And from what I've been able to see with the board in our interview on Friday and our interview today, is that that's something that they want to do as well. So I think that everyone has the same vision. It's just getting there. And it's just talking about it and being honest about it. And I think that when you're adults, you should be able to have honest conversations. You know, I expect for the I expect for the school board members to represent their area, their post. I expect for them to bring the information that they need to bring to the table to fight for their area, their post. That's expected. That's human. That's a natural thing. But at the end of the day, I would expect that the decisions that we make will be the decisions that are based on things that are great for all students. That would be the decision at the end of the day. So I would expect us to work together as a team. With the mayor, my expectation would be the same. You know, Nashville is known in some places as the it city. Everybody wants to move to Nashville. I want to get a condo in Nashville. I want to live in Nashville. I want to eat at the restaurants in Nashville, what have you. But I want the same thing for the school district. I want everybody to want to come to the school district too. The school district should be the first choice. That's a part of the vision that the board and staff have written, that the school district should be the first choice for families in Nashville. And that's what I want. I want the school district to be the first choice. So I would hope that the mayor would come along with that vision, and that the mayor would want to help us to succeed in that, and that the mayor would want for us to make our decisions based on what's best for all the students that are represented in the school district. So.
How would you, as director of schools, maintain fairness of resources specifically to all of Metro Nashville's publicly educated students, from the special needs students to our highest performing students, regardless of whether they attend a zone, charter, magnet, or other public school?
Well, zip code should not matter, and we truly, really need to be well aware of the decisions that we make, and we need to ensure that we put all of that to the side, what you just described, and make the decision that's best for all students. And I mean, I'm so much, and this is not grammatically correct, and my mother would be mad at me, but I'm so much in favor of making sure that I make the best decision for students. So be it a magnet student, be it a charter student, be it a special needs student, whatever that student needs to have, I need to make the best decision for that student.
So there's always a healthy tension between what decisions should be made consistently from the central office and how much decision making should be given to individual principals and teachers. How far, where do you fall on that spectrum between centralized view versus decentralized view? And what decisions should schools not make?
Wow, Shannon.
She doesn't get any more questions.
I know. No more for her today. I really, I think that principals should have the autonomy to make decisions for their local schools because they know their schools well enough. And so I think that they should be given that authority to do that. But also with that autonomy also comes responsibility. So we want to make sure that if we're giving the autonomy for the principals, that they're responsible for the student achievement in their building and that they're making the best decisions regarding that. So I think that for me, I'm fine with that being decentralized for principals to be able to make those decisions because they know that school a lot better than we know that school because they're in that school every day, all day. So I would not have an issue with that. And the last thing you asked, what
decisions should not be made at the school level? Would need to be made. For example, some people think hiring decisions really need, that should be made school to school or something like that.
Well, I think hiring decisions should be made at the local school level. And I don't know how it's done here. I don't know that. As a principal, I did all of my hiring. And because I knew what my students needed in my building, in our building. And so I was in charge of doing the hiring. But as a part of that hiring piece, I also involved staff members in that. So it wasn't just my decision, but it was also a collaborative decision because the persons that were hired were going to actually be working with the staff more so than they would see me with the students. And so I do think that there are great advantages to principals hiring their own staffs. Now, sometimes staff can be reassigned to a principal, and so I inherited staff members like that during my tenure as a principal. So sometimes those things we can't help because we have to do that in certain situations. But I'm not thinking of anything right now that I would say no to. I'm just not thinking of anything right now. So I'd hate to give you something that is not really what I want to say. Okay. All right.
Another question from the audience. This is from a 5th grade student out there somewhere. How would you handle bullying in the schools and on the school buses?
Bullying has really risen from what it was when I was in school. When I was in school, people just kind of, did things. But today, it's very different. And the bullying is not just on the bus and in the classroom, but it's also cyberbullying. And so we have to really be aware, wherever that 5th grade student is, we have to really be aware of what's going on. And so hello, thank you for asking the question, sweetheart. We have to be very well aware of what's going on, and the most important thing I think a student can do if they're being bullied is to share that with their teacher. That's the most important thing because many times things will happen in the classrooms and we're not told about it. And so I think that one of the most important things a student can do is to share that information with an adult that they feel comfortable speaking with. So that we can handle that bullying issue for that student, and so that student can be protected and not be bullied any further. So I think it's just that student sharing the information with an adult that they feel comfortable with, and then that adult taking that information and assisting with correcting that problem.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. What is your vision for learning technology and library services?
I believe that the more technology we can have our students utilize in the schools, the better. Our students are going to be using the technology anyway at home and in other places, and so we need to provide the technology for our students, whatever that technology is, making sure our students have access to that technology to be able to help them further their instruction. And then the library or the media center, some people call it a learning commons, many different names for that hub of the building. I believe that that particular part of our building plays a very huge part for our students and their success within the school setting. And so I think those are all wonderful things that we need to have for our students.
Great. Next one shows that we're listening out here. I'll read this. You say you will look at data to improve schools. Does that mean that you support the use of standardized tests to drive curriculum?
You know, many times in education with standardized tests, sometimes we become a little bit too excessive with standardized tests. And so what I would want to do is look at the assessments that we are giving and look at the quality of that assessments, of those assessments, and determine if those are the right assessments for our schools. So when I say I'm going to look at data, I believe that data comes in all forms and fashions. It can be a standardized assessment. It can also be a teacher-created assessment. It can also be a picture that someone has drawn. There are many forms of data that we can look at, but we have to be able to study whatever data it is so that we can make sure we're making the right instructional decisions for our students. And so data is very important because it drives that instruction. So data is essentially many things.
Okay. Just to show we're flexible, this one came in on the wrong color, but I'm going to read it. There are many families trying to get into the academic schools, in quotes, such as MLK, Hume Fogg, Head, meaning our magnets. How do you plan to replicate those schools so that more families have those opportunities?
I think that when I do my entry plan with the questions that I ask of stakeholders, I believe that I'm sure some information will come in as it relates to the magnet schools, and so I think that would be a conversation that I would have with the board members, in looking at different ways to replicate what is already being provided in Nashville. But I think that would be a decision that I would not make in isolation. That would be something that I would have to collaborate with board members and staff members regarding what might need to be done to replicate the programs.
Okay. This one came in a little bit earlier. In regards to school reform, do you plan to support existing charter schools and encourage the forming of new ones? If so, in what ways?
For charter schools, for me, I'm a fan of great schools, and some great schools happen to be charter schools, and some great schools happen to be traditional schools. So I think with my intention would be to work with the board and make those determinations to see what else might be needed in Nashville. Or do we need to remain status quo with what we have currently? I think that the decision has to be a collaborative decision because the board needs to be a part of that. And then I need to come in and really learn what is going on to make sure that I understand everything. Anytime there are things that I don't know, I'm a quick study and I can learn it. But I think that to make a decision as it relates to the charters and that kind of thing, I think that would have to be more conversation with me, with the board members, so that I can make sure that we're making a collaborative decision as it relates to additional charter schools or remaining status quo with what we have currently. I think we have 27 now, so I think that it would be a decision that we'd make together.
Okay. You mentioned this earlier. Nashville has a high rate of parents choosing non-NPS NPS schools for their children, either through private or by moving out of the county. What would you do to encourage parents to choose the system?
Well, I think that I would share our story and share what we have to offer in Nashville. Many times parents want to see what you have that's attractive, what's innovative, what do you have that would really really spark my child's appetite. And so I think by sharing all the wonderful things that are going on, because there's so many wonderful things that are going on in this school district, I think the more we can share that, get that message out, and communicate that, I think more parents would begin to come back to Nashville and make Nashville their first stop or their first choice as a school district. And I think getting that message out, not just through having forums or what have you, but also talking to the media and making sure the media has that information so that we're communicating that message on a consistent basis with our parents and our stakeholders so that parents want to bring their students back and that they actually stay within our school district and enjoy what we have here. That's why I was saying earlier that people want to move to Nashville and they're very excited about coming to Nashville, but we want to make sure that they're also equally excited about coming to the school district and being a part of this school district.
Okay. Stephanie, would you like to do another one?
Upon doing a little research of our own on Cobb County District's website, we noticed that you have a superintendent principal advisory council, a superintendent teacher advisory council, and a superintendent community advisory council. But there's no mention of a parent advisory council on your webpage. So how would you like to involve parents while you are director of schools, both as a possible council, which we already have in place, and parents in the school trying to get more involved?
Well, I'm glad to know that you've just given me some information that we don't have on our website. We do have a Parent-Teacher Association Advisory Council, and that's not there. So we will make sure we add that. We meet with those groups about 4 or 5 times a year with their agendas, whatever they are, and it's myself and the superintendent. And we have been able to get valuable information as to how we make decisions in the district. And so those are the things that I would love to do here if chosen for that position. The other groups that we meet with are educational organizations. So that we can hear from those groups. So our Georgia Association of Educators, our Professional Association of Georgia Educators, and all the other educational groups that are that we have in Georgia. And so I think that any time that you get all of that feedback, it helps you to make a quality decision for your school district when you take the time to get that feedback. So that would be something that I would love to have here, because I think that when you're just listening to your staff and you're just listening to the administrators, sometimes your decisions are not the best decision because you need to hear all sides of the story. And so I think by having, the teacher group, having the principal group, having the parent group, and having the business group and the educational organization, that allows you to hear the entire story. And then you can make a well-founded decision regarding what actions you may need to take as the director of schools. So that would be something I would want to do here as well. Okay, so we do involve the parents. It's just not on the website, so I'm going to make sure that's there tonight.
So you mentioned all these councils, you mentioned walking around the schools.
Yes.
How do you have a life and do all this? What else do you do in any spare time?
Well, the media's here, aren't they? I love to read, and I love spending time with my children. I have 3, and they keep us very busy. And I also, and I'll say this in front of the media, I also like to ride on my husband's Harley. That's a lot of fun. So he has a Harley Davidson that he loves, and so I ride on the back. And so that's kind of what I do in my downtime. And then also I come here every other weekend. I have a mother who's 81 years old and that still lives here. And I have a father-in-law that's 96 and lives here. And so my husband and I come here every other weekend to lay eyes on the 2 of them to make sure they're good. and to make sure they have everything that they need. And so we spend a lot of our spare time coming up and down the road to take care of them. They took care of us all of our lives, so it's our turn to take care of them.
But not on the Harley.
Not on the Harley. I did it one time. I'm not going to do it again. It was painful. So I won't be doing that again.
Yes. Earlier, you talked about the importance of making the right hire and retaining employees that are essential in our work here. At one of our middle schools, it was one that was struggling, and now are out of that list, largely due to a talented, inspiring young principal that we trained. He, in turn, trained a building full of teacher leaders who were really driving the work and success of that school. He has been successfully recruited away to Denver, and much of the staff has scattered as well. What specific strategies can be used to attract those high quality, and even those that we have trained to attract them here, to keep them there, more than just hiring and professional development? How do we go out there and find the folks that are needed to do this work and to keep them here?
A lot of times you have to look at salary competitiveness. You have to study how others are paid, how principals are paid in other districts. And you have to, some kind of way, try to make your salaries competitive with that to keep people. That's one way. The other thing that I always think about are the relationships, the way you treat people. Sometimes it's not all about the money, but it's how well you treat people. People will come to work all day long, every day, work as many hours as you want them to if you treat them right. And sometimes, sometimes it's just a matter of speaking to your staff. Good morning, how are you today? Are you having a great day? So, kindness goes a long way. The only reason why I have remained in Cobb County for 23 years is because of the relationships. I know that if there are any questions that I have, I can find the answer. I know that people are going to treat me well. I know that people are going to support me. And so I, in turn, as a leader, want to make sure I treat my staff that way. That I want to greet them every morning when they come in. That I want to ask them how they're doing. I want to make sure I give them the supports that they need. So relationships are just key to every single position that you have, from teachers to custodians to secretaries to the principals, everyone. People want to be treated nicely. They want to be. And I think that even if there comes a time when people don't agree with the decisions that you make, they will also respect you. Always respect you if you treat them right. So I think that relationship piece is what really matters in retaining people. If you treat them right, they're not going to leave. And then what I found in my experience is when you treat them right, they will work so very hard for you. They want to impress you because you've treated them right. And so that's what's been beneficial during my experience, and in my personal experience. That's why I have been retained for so long and never wanted to leave because of the way I was treated. So, where I am currently, I love what I do. Absolutely love it. Love the people that I work with. I go to work happy every day, and people say, "Oh, Angela, no, you're kidding." No, I really do. My 31 years of experience has been wonderful. Have there been some down days? Yes, there have, but the good has outweighed the bad because of the people that I've worked with. Because those people are going to encourage me. Those people are not going to be competitive and stab me in my back. Those people are going to work with me. And so that's kept me where I am. Not until I saw this opportunity was I even ever thinking about leaving the district. So I think retaining people has to do with salary competitiveness, but more importantly, the relationships.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. As a quick follow-up,
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go to Daniel. We aren't really doing follow-ups, so I'm going to go to Daniel. I'm sorry.
MMPS offers school choice options for parents, but many believe there aren't sufficient supports in place to help parents understand those options and have access to transportation to those options. So how would you address that as director?
I think if parents are not understanding what those options are and understanding the process, I think we need to have better communication with what the options are and what the choices are and how to go about getting those, the transportation, and all the different things that you said. I think we need to communicate better. Many times communication can help us if we use it adequately. So I believe that making sure that we're communicating what all the needs are, what all the choices are, and also having that on the website or having information at local schools that can be passed out to parents, or just having all that available for parents so that there are not any questions regarding what to do and how to do it as it relates to school choice and anything within the district.
Thank you. What would be your strategy for encouraging social and emotional learning for our students?
I think that I would want to meet with our behaviorists, our psychologists, our school psychologists, our behaviorists, to see what kind of processes they've had in place and what we might need to do to tweak those, or if anything. But I think I would start with that group of educators to make those determinations to ensure that our students that fit within that category are getting what they need to have. So I think I would start there to be able to totally understand what is going on and then be able to direct the resources and supports as needed.
Another question from the audience. What is your plan for advanced or gifted elementary students and or programs for them?
I think for those students, and I kind of mentioned this earlier with another question, I think that with those students, we have to make sure that we're continuing to excel them. We need to make sure that we're not keeping them at their level. We need to make sure that we're giving them all the interventions that they need to be able to excel, and making sure that we're not concentrating so much on our struggling students, but making sure that we're giving our gifted students everything that they need. So essentially not forgetting about them, essentially making sure that we're giving them the resources that they need to excel in their individual programs.
Okay, Reverend?
You have addressed part of this question, but how would you make certain there's accountability and balance throughout the district, such as funding, standard school attire, and technology?
Make sure there's balance with standard school attire and
funding for resources and technology.
I think that I would have to understand what's currently going on with that and be able to make the best decision as it relates to that. I'm not for sure if I'm even aware of what's going on with standard school attire and did you say technology?
And technology.
I think I would have to have a better understanding of what is happening with that to know a decision to be made.
And with respect to both of those, especially technology, the funding of technology throughout the district, making certain that throughout the district there's a balance between all of the schools.
Oh, okay, all right. I think what I would look at is try to do a needs assessment to determine what it is that we don't have in our schools as it relates to technology and the things that we need to have in our schools as it relates to technology. So I think a needs assessment would be perfect to do. And then make some determinations as it relates to technology.
in your leadership in a reasonable period of time?
I think that many things are doable. I think that we have to have the honest conversation of what truly is going on and look at the strategies and the resources that are in place in those settings and make some determinations as to, do we have the right curriculum programs in the schools, in those particular schools? Do we have the adequate resources? Do we have the technology there? What kinds of things do we have at those sites, and what kind of resources or supports do we need to place there? So I think it would be looking at them individually and talking to the leaders within those schools and making some determinations as to what direction we need to move. But I think it would take time to study that, and when I say time, I'm not talking about years, but actually really studying that as a priority. I mean, if that's really what's occurring, really studying that as a priority and really making some quick changes that we can do like now, and then make other changes along the way. But I think we would look at the things that can be handled quickly and do those things, and then look at what the long-term plans would need to be for those schools.
What are your views or perspectives on privatizing school services?
I think with that as well, and I've lived that before with technology. I've lived that with custodians. So I think that that's a decision that would have to be vetted and discussed and look at the disadvantages and the advantages, the pros and the cons of that, and really weigh what would be the best decision for this school district. But I have had experience with privatization, and in some ways it worked, and in other ways it did not. And so I would like to have a conversation with the board about that and just look at what's been done and what would be the benefits of privatizing, and what would those things be that would not be a benefit of privatizing, and then make a decision as to what the district would need to do.
Marisol, have you got another question? Go ahead. No, you're done. You're good. Go ahead.
I know that your position will require leadership. What kind of leader are you, and how do you work well with others?
The type of leader that I consider myself to be would be a collaborative leader, as well as a transformational leader. I see myself as a leader that identifies whatever the problem is, and then creating the vision to meet that problem, but working with others to do that, and then taking that problem and then figuring out what needs to be done and having others be a part of that. So truly, I see myself as a collaborative, transformational kind of leader. That would be my style. Yes.
I want to thank Chairwoman Gentry, for setting this up, for allowing the candidate to speak to the community. I want to thank McGavick and all of the staff of MNPS for all the hard work to make it happen. I want to thank the panel, and then I want to give you an opportunity to say what you'd like this group to remember from tonight.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking your evening to come out here to see me. And I do want you to know that this is a position that's very near and dear to my heart, because this is a district that I really love, and I want to see the district succeed. And I truly believe that I can be a part of that success. I think that I can truly make a difference here in Nashville because it's something that I'm so passionate about. I truly feel that I've been called to be the director of schools for the Metro Nashville Public School District at this time, at this moment, for right now. And I truly believe that I can make a difference here, because I think that what the school district needs right now is really a healing, and really someone that can come in and truly listen to the stakeholders and make decisions. And I think the board wants to do the same thing, and I'm looking forward to the possibility of working with the board and working with you to make sure that we see the success that we want to see within this school district, because I know that we have it, and it's just a matter of getting it out there and being able to let people see what can be done within this school district. Nashville is not only just the IT city, but the school district can be the IT district as well. I think you have it. You have the top? Okay. All right. Okay.